Good morning. I love it. I love it. Gosh, it's been so long that I always say good morning to a camera, and so it's really nice to see you guys here today. I'm so glad you're here in person. I was out walking around the building the other day, and I remembered about 12 years ago, I think it was, I was out there with Carol Manka and Paul Manka out there in the patio, and I remember saying to them, I love that this building is accessible to anybody, anywhere in a wheelchair or a walker or anything, and I really appreciate that. But I hated that we have stairs. The only way to get down the patio is to take stairs. You had to walk downstairs. I only had to say that to her one time, and before I knew it, the next day, Carol and Paul were going to fund a new rampway and a walkway all around the building, a sidewalk. Whenever you walk around the building on a sidewalk, I hope you'll remember Carol Manka. And we'll be celebrating her life in February. And she was just such a beautiful person, a really wonderful soul. And I'm just so touched that she would want people to feel welcome here, that she would take that extraordinary effort to fund the sidewalk so people in wheelchairs and walkers can get down to the patio and walk around. It's kind of a rainy day for that. But to me, that symbolizes the spirit of welcome in this congregation. We want everybody to feel welcome. I'm so happy you're here. So thanks for joining us today.
Our gathering hymn today is Joy Thou Goddess. It's number 327 in the gray hymnal. Please rise in body or spirit, and please leave your mask in place as we sing.
Della mio mama Oh, joy to be together in this space, knowing that the leaves have finally fallen, and the time for tree limbs to handsomely inflate with lichens and moss has come, that the showers dampening the soil are gently bathing roots, nodules, shells, and skins of the subterranean world beneath our feet, that the late dawn and early dusk bring extra darkness in which love and compassion for each other shine ever more brightly. Please join me in saying our affirmation. Love is our doctrine, compassion is our way. Here we seek to create a joyful home of free religious exploration, build a community of caring fellowship, nurture the hopes, and serve the needs of our world. Each week, we light 3 chalices. The first is for visitors, friends, and members of this Unitarian Universalist congregation of Salem. We light our second chalice for our partner church and friends in Šimanfalva, Transylvania, Romania. And our third chalice is for our children and youth in religious education and all around the world.
Advent is a season of waiting, of expectation, and of longing. On this third Sunday of Advent, we light one more candle on our wreath, the pink candle that represents joy. How is it, you might wonder, that we could celebrate joy when there's also so much suffering in the world? Isn't that contradictory? It's an exercise of faith to address the unknown, which can also be called the not yet known. Advent is a season of watchfulness. We listen and we keep vigil for the promise of things to come. We speak and sing about the promise of the not yet manifest, as reflected in the words of familiar hymns. O come, Emmanuel. People look east, the time is near. Love, the guest, is on its way. There's a star in the east, it will lead you. These are the songs of the hopeful, songs of faith. These hymns encourage us to enter and consent the practice of opening to possibility. Joy is one of the qualities that, if not yet present within us, will come to us in its own time. This light of joy, then, doesn't require you to experience joy now, today, in your immediate surroundings. Instead, it's a reminder to wait for it with faithfulness that overshadows pain and cynicism. Make the lighting of this candle bring us patience, grant us faith, and draw us closer to joy. Please sing with us the next verse, third verse of O Come, Emmanuel.
Oh, come, you day spring, come and cheer our spirits by your presence here, and dawn in every broken soul as vision that can see the hope. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come within as long
Hello. Oh, good. There we go. Yay, thank you. All right. Thank you. Oh, right here. There we go. You were born to be so many things. My wish for you, no matter where your journey leads, is for you to always be you. Be ready to take the next step toward being an amazing human being. Be curious. Turn every stone and ask every why, and keep digging deeply. Discover your own answers. Be adventurous. Live a big life. When you are ready, step outside your comfort zone. Bravely explore new paths and see where they lead you. Be connected. Find kindred spirits. Be persistent. Keep going, never stop. Keep going, never stop. Keep going, never stop. Be different. Be silly, be quirky, be odd, be unique, be weird, be colorful. Be okay with being different. Be just the way you are. Be kind, be understanding. Help those around you to be themselves. Listen. Then listen some more. Learn more about who they are. Be brave. Try new things. Take a deep breath and plunge forward into new experiences. It gets easier every time you try. Be your own thinker. Think for yourself and set your own unique course. It isn't always easy, but you'll be heading in the direction of you. Be okay being alone. Take time to be on your own. Hear your own thoughts, your inner voice. Listen to your heart. Be patient. Being more you takes time. Take a deep breath. Relax. Let your future unfold at its own pace. It will be worth the wait. Be okay reaching out for help. When you need a helping hand, a compassionate ear, an encouraging word, reach out. As you voyage out into the world, remember, no matter what, you will always be loved. You are ready, so go ahead, be you. Be very, very you. Okay. Thank you, Reverend Rick.
Yeah, be you.
Be you. If everybody can please join hands in the center to make the love arch. Thank you.
You would just take a breath and be in this moment of time. Let go of all the things that might be distracting you and just relax into this moment. Sunday after Sunday, we come to this place, and every Sunday, somebody comes hurting. It's inevitable. Life is very hard. There are painful losses. There is heartbreak. And and there's illness. There's so many things that can cause us distress. And this is why we gather on the second Sunday for a simple ritual, compassionate connection. In a quiet place, each person has the opportunity to share what's going on for them. And we listen. And we listen to one another. We listen to one another's stories of sorrow and pain and loss. And as we listen to one another, we begin to heal. New connections are made. You feel more grounded as you feel the hands of others upon your shoulders when we meditate. And ask for the spirit of compassion to be in our midst. And that is always our prayer in this community, that the spirit of compassion will be here with us, that we might always remember to embody compassion for one another. Compassion is our way. And gratitude. When I was a young fellow, I flew across the ocean with my family. We moved to Europe for a couple of years. And on the airplane flight, the flight attendant came forward and offered each passenger an orange. And when she came to me, I said no. And she went on. And during that flight, as I smelled those wonderful oranges being peeled, I asked myself again and again, why didn't I take that orange? Let us be open to all the gifts that life has to offer us. Let us learn to live without regrets of oranges not eaten, gifts not received. Open your heart and your mind to the uncounted gifts that flow into our lives. And let us enjoy the sweet juice of life. Gratitude for all the wonderful, sweet gifts. Gratitude and compassion are our way.
Good morning. I'm Jackie Klimowitz, and I'm a member of Lifeline's Lay Ministry. And we assist Rick, our minister, with people in need. And you can contact us by emailing lifelineslayministry@uusalem.org, or you could call the office, or you could look for somebody with a lavender button and talk to them. First, is somebody going to light a candle? I would like to light a candle for my dear brother-in-law who passed away in November, and we've known him for 49 years, Michael Rourke-Kemper, and his sister Jerry Rourke-Kemper, Ed's sister. And Jane Mate says, my twin brother Joe, sister Mary Jo, and myself all celebrated birthdays this week. My twin brother is also doing well. 2 years past cancer treatment. Everyone got their colonoscopy. The next one is from Rye Britton. Rye Britton is seeking a part-time job. He prefers to work with people. Do you want to stand up, Rye, so people can see who you are? And Teresa Connor, sending thoughts to my family and friends from my hometown in Kentucky who have lost lives and their homes. And we have one that was written online by George Struble. This is for my college roommate, Bill Armstrong. As a college student, he was planning to become a minister. He carried through and was a wonderful minister for many years in Burton, Ohio. COVID got him a little over a year ago. He has been confined to a hospital bed since then. His Christmas card brought tears to my eyes. If I was still preaching, and this is what he says, and it applies to people in need and people that are hurting. If I was still preaching, my Christmas sermon would be about hope, despite all the disheartening things that are happening in the world. The war in Ethiopia, where we once lived, the harsh divisions in our own country, the pain of grief or loneliness that may have invaded our lives. Despite all these things, there is still that little bundle of hope, peacefully nursing at his mother's breast with some awestruck shepherds looking on, uplifted by angelic words of peace and joy. With no pupil at hand, I will take this way to wish you the undying hope of Christmas. Thank you.
As I mentioned in my meditation, we'd be having the ritual that we always have on the second Sunday of the month. And this has been a long time since we've done it, but it's the second Sunday of the month. If you've been going through a hard time, lost your job, your health is in poor shape, anything really difficult in your life, please come up to the front of the sanctuary after the service, and we'll be joining together in the office that I get to use, and we'll have a ritual that gives you an opportunity to feel connected again. So if you are going through a rough patch in your life, please consider doing that. I think it would help. Thanks.
Also, if you'd like to share a joy or a concern, please do feel free to write it in the book out in the foyer, or you may do it online and just follow the links that are given on this slide. Thank you.
Our pastoral hymn today is Every Night and Every Morn. It's number 17 in the gray hymnal. You may remain seated, but please leave your mask in place.
Forgiveness is a heartache and difficult to achieve because, strangely, it not only refuses to eliminate the original wound, but actually draws us closer to its source. To approach forgiveness is to close in on the nature of the hurt itself, the only remedy being, as we approach its raw center, to reimagine our relation to it. Stranger still, it is that wounded part of us that eventually makes forgiveness an act of compassion rather than one of simple forgetting. To forgive is to assume a larger identity than the person who was first hurt, to mature and bring to fruition a being who can put its arm not only around the afflicted one within, but also around the memories seared within us by the original blow, and through a kind of psychological virtuosity, extend our understanding to the one who first delivered it. At the end of life, the wish to be forgiven is ultimately the chief desire of almost every human being. In refusing to wait, in extending forgiveness to others now, we begin the long journey of becoming the person who will be large enough, able enough, and generous enough to receive at the very end that absolution ourselves.
That was a great reading, Barbara, and I actually think we're done here today. I don't need anything else, do you? That's fine for me. That was really, really thoughtful, and you can never think enough about that theme, can you? Forgiveness. So I'll bet you $1 million. I don't have it, but I'm not really worried about that because I wouldn't lose. But I bet you $1 million that if there was a certain Japanese-American man from Hawaii who ended up working part-time at McDonald's Hamburgers in Columbus, Georgia around 1968 while he was serving as a sergeant in the Army in Columbus, in Fort Benning. I think if he was still alive today, he would be really, really surprised to learn how he changed my life, especially since he hardly knew me. There I was in high school. I was toiling away on the weekends and some evenings at the front counter of McDonald's Hamburgers. This was back in the day when getting one of their franchises in town was cause for civic joy. This was Columbus, Georgia. It was also back when they had fresh potatoes where they made their French fries. So it was a happening place, and people thronged in, hungry people. Hungry people can be dangerous because they're on the precipice of getting angry, hence the term hangry. Hangry. Hungry people who are customers are even more dangerous because of the spiritual malady known as customer consciousness, wherein normal people not used to having a lot of power in the fleeting moments that they are customers feel that they are given the license to act like jerks, bullies, or babies or whatever because the customer is always right. That kind of power inebriates some people. They say that power corrupts, and customer consciousness is yet more proof. So there I was one Saturday afternoon, and power was corrupting a couple of hangry customers who were starting to get enraged in such a way that I envision that pretty soon the managers are going to be coming out of the office and pulling these guys apart. But suddenly, Shoji, he was about 5'2", Shoji, he just flowed into the midst of this ugly scene like a Tai Chi master. And he was able to establish an instant, benevolent rapport with both customers in such a way that they knew that they were going to be taken care of. They were going to get their burgers and their fries and their shakes, and they were happy. Somehow, I just marveled about the way that Shoji did this. He didn't get, it felt like magic to me. Just watching this, I had never seen anybody interact in this way. It was like he wasn't getting sucked into it. He wasn't getting sucked into the drama, the ego of this whole thing. He was just sort of floating above it, and he was able to lift these poor, hangry customers who were making fools of themselves to a higher plane. And I was in awe. I had never before witnessed this kind of interpersonal virtuosity. It was a revelation to me. It really was. Just, I remember looking at that guy and I perceived such grace and character in the way he operated that I became an instant convert, and I said to myself, that's how I want to be. That's how I want to be. Of course, I failed many times, and probably Shoji did too, but in that instant, I saw somebody very skillfully and intentionally bring their best selves into the midst of a scene where he tamed the demons of two other people's worst selves. And seeing that example lit a candle in my soul. So it's interesting the way we look at the world and when we see things that I think it's important to have people who embody the values that we aspire to look at first. Bringing your best self forward is advice you'll hear a lot, and it might sound trite to you, but I kind of like it. It reminds me to kind of pause for a second and reflect, well, what is my best self? It's often been a saving reminder, because in the course of my life, I have discovered unpleasant discovery, but I have discovered I have a worst self. I have a worst self. And when I deny that, when I'm not aware of my worst self, it simply means I have blind spots, or worse yet, it means I've gotten fooled. Because the worst self is good at disguise and may even present itself as your best self. It could happen. Well, why would anybody even have a worst self? What's that all about? Well, I think our worst selves often emerge from the deep, unhealed wounds that life has dealt us. Many folks I know have been dealt some pretty grievous things. Life is not hard. Life is not easy for so many people. And when you've been wounded, and when there are those deep down wounds that fester, they can exert their influence in subtle and insidious ways. And that's where it gets dangerous. If you've been hurt, and who hasn't been, sometimes it's natural to want to strike back. Sometimes you want to even strike back harder. You've been hurt? Well, I'll get them. A good deal of the movie entertainment business centers around people being unjustly bullied, oppressed, and the underdogs finally, we all wait for it. You watch those movies, you know. The only reason I keep watching is sometimes I want to see that inglorious bastard get it, you know. It's just, there's something, we like that. We like to see things set right. But, the evil bastards who sometimes get it when deep festering wounds are dictating your actions are quite often not the same original evil bastards who hurt you. And they may not even be evil bastards, they just look like it. You're projecting something onto them. The ancient blind poet Homer saw quite clearly into our disturbing propensity to strike out blindly at others. In his epic poem, The Iliad, the tragic hero Achilles, he loses his dearest friend Patroclus. And this is not like a best bud that hangs out at the bar on Friday nights. Now, we're talking about a very deep, profound, loving friendship between these two men. And when he is killed, when Achilles loses his dear friend Patroclus in battle, who is slain by the Trojan leader Hector, his grief just knows no bounds. And then his vengeance knows no bounds. His vengeance knows no bounds. That's his character flaw. Alas, it's also humankind's character flaw. Achilles becomes a wounded wounder, a wounded wounder. He seeks vengeance and destruction, not justice and restoration. Because after he slaughters Hector, who slaughtered Patroclus, he disfigures Hector's corpse in front of his own father, disfigures the dead corpse, and then he continues slaying and slaying. He just keeps killing people. He just keeps killing people. And then the poet Homer is moved to lament. I wish that strife would vanish away from among gods and mortals, and gall, which makes a man grow angry for all his great mind, that gall of anger that swarms like smoke inside a man's heart and becomes a thing sweeter to him by far than the dripping of honey. I first read that passage as an undergraduate student many, many years ago, and I was so struck by that idea that gall, bitter gall, becomes sweeter than dripping honey for those who choose to nurture their grudges. It's unhealthy comfort food for the wounded soul. It finally inebriates the one who drinks it into fits of rage. And so when I'm hurt, or I summon up remembrance of old wounds, I struggle against the temptation to let my own inner wounded Achilles strike out at others and damn the consequences. And there are consequences. When you hand the car keys over to your inner wounded Achilles, because there's certain to be some kind of an interpersonal wreck that'll happen, and it could cause lasting damage, and you don't want that. And I've avoided a lot of wrecks, somehow. Buddhists like to label the tricks of the mind, monkey mind they call our minds, so it's better to spot them and not get tricked by their seductive wiles. And so, yes, I like to label, to recognize these various manifestations of my worst self, so I know how to deal with them, like my inner wounded Achilles. And so when the inner wounded Achilles is stirring inside, I know it's bad for me and others to let this go on. And so I do the most immediately effective and practical thing I know to do in order to not act like a wounded wounder, because I seek to be a wounded healer, as the psychologist Carl Jung and the theologian Henri Nouwen named it, someone whose wounds you don't continue to wound other person, but those wounds serve deeper pathways of empathy and compassion for yourself and other people. I know so many people who've gone through hard times, and they're profoundly compassionate people because they're wounded healers. They know what it feels like. And I know people who are wounded wounders too. When my inner wounded Achilles is calling me down into the realms of anger and rage, I know it's time to do nothing. It's time to do nothing. It's always the best solution, right at hand for me. It's the best solution that I know of. That is that when I get like that, I know I can sit down and meditate. Some people would pray. I've done this every day since I entered the ministry 36 years ago, because when I entered the ministry, I made a vow, which I took as seriously as a wedding vow. I said, I will meditate, because I know it's a good thing to do for me. So I made a vow to do this every day. So I made one decision, and now I don't have to make a decision as to whether or not I'll meditate. That decision was made one time. That's a really powerful way to do things. Instead of every day, well, can I find time? No, I'm not going to find. I just make one decision. Really can carry you. Very powerful thing to do. And I knew. And by the way, I wasn't meditating every day as I got ready to enter the ministry, but I knew it was going to be a really hard slog if I didn't take care of myself, if I didn't ground myself in the way that I knew how to do it. So I talk about meditation because it's what I know, but there are many other things that people can do to help you regain some spiritual balance, some grounding. Otherwise, you're going to ill-serve others because you'll not be bringing your best self forward. And the world needs our best self. I hope you don't think I'm boasting when I talk about my meditation practice. It's really, I'm not that good at it. I keep working at it, though. It's not been an easy discipline, but you ripen into these things. And it has relieved a great deal of suffering for me. And I mention this, too, because we're a spiritual community. And everyone, I think, should be aware that you can tame your spirit in a way that makes you a happier person. And so I think that everyone should consider some type of a spiritual practice, very broadly conceived, which might help you take good care of your spirit from day to day. I know that if my inner wounded Achilles is raging, and I'm being offered big gulps of bitter gall, sweeter than honey, have some more, and I sit down, and I sit in the prescribed posture taken by countless seekers across the generations, thousands of years people have been doing this, and I do what they do, and I focus my mind on my breath. Instead of my grievances, instead of feeding my grievances, I just pay attention to my breathing, and you do that for a while, and it changes you. And that bitter brew over there, it doesn't look so good anymore. It doesn't. It really helps change you. In truth, my inner wounded Achilles causes me some headaches, but I generally know better than to hand him the car keys, plus which he's pretty easy to spot once he gets going. He's not that subtle or sly. It's quite different than my inner Iago, who likes to pick up where my inner Achilles leaves off. Remember Iago? I was an English major, so I do. But he is the most disturbing figure I came across during my days as an English major. Absolutely. Nobody else even holds a candle to Iago. It's from Shakespeare's tragedy, Othello, the Moor of Venice. That's the play. And Iago is in this play, sends chills down my spine. Spoiler alert, it was Iago. Iago is a lieutenant, works for Othello. Othello is a military commander, a Moor, a black man. He's a very admirable figure, Othello is. And Iago manipulates Othello. Othello so deeply trusts Iago. Trusts him. He's called Honest Iago. And he is able to manipulate him in such a way that Othello comes to believe that his wife, beautiful, pure, lovely woman, Desdemona, is being unfaithful to him, Othello. And so in a fit of rage, he kills her. He kills this woman who had done nothing wrong. And then he recognizes that he has done something dreadful, dreadful, dreadful. He has killed the woman that he loved. And now he kills himself. He will kill himself. 2 beautiful lives destroyed by one person like this. And when Iago is confronted with incontrovertible evidence of his vile scheme, the scheme that destroyed 2 beautiful lives, he simply says, I will speak no more. I will speak no more. There's the poet Coleridge, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, was studying this play. He was trying to figure out, well, why did Iago do this? And he finally came up, he says, this is motive hunting for motiveless malignity. Motiveless malignity, just being cruel for the fun of it. Iago channels all his creative energy into the destruction of a fellow human being who trusted him. My inner Iago doesn't have much purchase on my soul, at least I don't think so. I was born shaped largely, I think, by my mother. Is a very tender-hearted person. She never wanted to hurt anyone, and I think I take after her in that regards. But I know that I have an inner Iago. I know that because the great Russian author and dissident writer Alexander Solzhenitsyn told me I did. He didn't tell me personally. But some people were saying, gosh, wouldn't it be nice if we could just get all the bad people in the world and just kind of put them over there, solve our problems. And Solzhenitsyn, he said, the line dividing good and evil cuts through the heart of every human being. In other words, this is no personal confession when I say I have an inner Iago. Everyone has an inner Iago who can present very convincingly as honest. I'm calling it Iago. You might want to call it something else, but I'm talking about that part of us that actually likes to listen to harmful gossip and spread it, especially if you bear ill will towards somebody. The inner Iago delights in destruction, likes to spread calumny, likes to destroy trust between people. All too often, every day I see Iago at work in the world destroying trust. You know who has the most lines in the play Othello? Which character has the most lines in the play Othello? You would think Othello. No, Iago has the most lines in the play. And it seems like Iago has the most lines in our national discourse, too. Thanks to modern technology, vicious, harmful lies that destroy others are spread with impunity in ways we've never seen before. So Iago is a pretty busy dude. I see him at work whenever mean stories are told about people who aren't there to defend themselves and no one else does. I see Iago at work when harsh judgments are formed in people's minds before they know the full story. In my observation, the ones most likely to fall prey to their inner Iago's wiles are those with festering wounds that have never quite healed. So what do? When I sense Iago lurking down there in the depths, well, I have discovered that a great way to expand my horizons so that this destructive little guy will shrink back into the shadows every time. And there's many ways that a soul can do this, but what always works for me is to listen to the music that saved my soul, my lost soul when I was a young man. Music just played such a profoundly meaningful role in my life. It really pulled me back from the ledge sometimes. And when I'm listening to the opening movement of Beethoven's Violin Concerto, for example, the expansive nobility of this music makes the shrunken ignobility of Iago's mindset apparent. Iago hates great stuff. He doesn't like great paintings or art or poetry and noble sentiments. Iago goes away when that stuff is happening. But I have to listen to this music because I know that I need to be reminded that there is something really, really beautiful and profound and sublime about our lives. And that's where my direction should be focused, on those things. Did you know that Iago won't follow you there? In fact, the Soviet dictator Lenin, he confessed that during the Communist Revolution, Lenin said he couldn't listen to Beethoven anymore. It was making him too good of a person. He mentioned the Appassionata Piano Sonata. He said, I can't listen to that anymore. It makes me too good of a person to do the bloody work of the revolution. Well, maybe it would have been okay for you to listen to the Beethoven, I think. I like to share the story of the things that keep me on track, knowing that we all have our own paths and the things that do work for us, and I don't insist that my path be your path. But I think it's important to think about those things that help our best self emerge in our worst self, not take control. And I've mentioned the things that help me, But I've saved the best for last. I've saved the best for last. Since time immemorial, people in all cultures and climes have recognized the need for spiritual community. Consider the earliest Christian monastics in North Africa. They tried to go it alone. These are some really holy seeking people. They wanted to go out and do it by themselves. And you know what happened when they tried to do that? They lost their minds. You can't, you need community. You gotta have community. You gotta have community. A life of solitary confinement is not good. And so this gave birth, painful necessity, this gave birth to the earliest Christian monastic communities, and a similar pattern of evolution occurred in Buddhism too, so that people would not be alone on their spiritual journeys. But far too many people are alone these days, and it really bothers me to see that. There's nothing to me sadder than people alone who aren't connected. I really am bothered by that. And so that's why it's so important. There's a place like this where we can come and where we can thrive, and that we can shine our light upon one another and outward to the world beyond. Congregations, which are spiritually healthy ones, and I have to qualify that because I know not all congregations are preaching things that are elevating for the human spirit, but this is a healthy congregation, and there are many in our community. But congregations, when they are spiritually healthy and embrace life-affirming, inclusive values, they do serve out to bring out the best in one another. Congregations exist so that we can bring out the best in one another. Just the other day, I sent an email to somebody in this room, fairly close by, in fact, telling her that she has a gift for bringing out the best in people, because I witnessed her doing this on several occasions, and I was grateful for her ministerial gifts in our community. And I wasn't even sure that she was aware that she had such gifts. And so I told her, people's gifts need to be recognized by others because it helps us realize how we function in community and how our gifts matter for one another. I see a lot of you doing this, quite frankly, bringing out the best in others, often by simply being your best self, dedicated to the larger community here. And together, collectively, look at this place. This entire place was built by love, volunteer donations. Nobody was sent a bill and said, you have to pay for this. This entire community, an incredible accomplishment. Collectively, we've done so many amazing things I could not begin to tell you over the years, more than any one of us realizes. And the more I think about that, and the more I think about you and all you have done, I am so amazed and I am so grateful because you have helped bring out the best in me. So thank you. Let's meditate and pray. Let's go deep into our souls and high too. Let's explore our lives with openness and freedom. Let us learn how to forgive and fly. Let us learn to recognize what drags us down. Let us learn to let go of those things and open our hearts to love, open our hands to service. All of us, our beautiful best selves, are coming forward. And it is so beautiful. Let us be together our best. Amen.
We support UUCS through pledges, individual and group projects, and connections with one another. We also support the Salem community with donations to the Marion Polk Food Share. Each month, we share your UUCS monetary donations with an organization that exemplifies our principles. For December, we are supporting the Interfaith Movement for Immigrant Justice, Emerge. This organization is made of diverse faith communities and individuals who work for immigrant justice across Oregon and the Northwest region. They affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person, as well as justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Whatever the size, your gift is received gratefully. And how to donate is, if you're here in person, there is a basket in the foyer that you may drop your contribution into. Make your check out to UUCS. And if you are online, please follow the links on how to donate. Thank you for supporting this congregation and our wider community. Again, your gifts in whatever amount are sincerely appreciated.
Lord.
Rick will now light the social justice lantern as a symbol of the actions that we may take today and in the days to come to uplift ourselves and each other. He will also extinguish the other chalices, but may we find ways to kindle the flame of hope and love in each other. Okay. All right. So, Sunday service, and it's time for announcements. As you all know, we do encourage you to register in advance before you come for the live service. And you do need, if you have friends that want to come, know that they need a proof of vaccination or an exemption. And do bring your mask, or we will provide you with one. Children's RE is available during the service, so please take advantage of that if you have children. And fellowship time is in Hanneman Hall after this service. So, Rick, your turn.
We're splitting up the announcements because there's so many of them, and we're going to try to make it entertaining. Yeah, here's the announcement. So for our Christmas Eve service, if you could send in a prayer for the world by December 22nd to, you can see Sarah's email address up there, or you could send a recording of you lighting a candle and then passing it from left to right, and we used that last year. It was very effective. So if you want to participate in that, please do. Let's see if there's another slide here for another announcement. Next Sunday, please join me for I share a sermon, and it's we're going to have some great dancing next Sunday, some ballet, some Nutcracker right here in front of us. Okay, well, there you go, from the Nutcracker. We have a lot of good fundraising going on here. We have the poinsettia and bake sale by the Women's Alliance. And the women, buy something from the Women's Alliance because they sure have given us so much over the years. Online auction, we're going to be continuing. My board chair, Christine Ertl, tells us that we're getting some good stuff coming in on the auction. But if you have like a Van Gogh painting or something like that, let us know because we want it. And good stuff. You get the idea for our online concert. And we've got a concert coming up just really, really soon, December 14th. Composer by Queer Oregon composers, Dr. Kit and Stephanie Lynn Smith. It's going to be live here in concert. So what day of the week is the 14th? I'm off. Tuesday. Okay, Tuesday. Okay, so Tuesday. And give that one, that's a good night of the week to come out, do something different. So why don't you do that? And get ready for the Christmas Eve service. Let's see. We have a tree. You bring in gifts for a tree, and the mental health community distributes those around. We've been doing that for so many years, and it's a wonderful tradition that we have here. If you'd like to join our religious education team, we're, as you can see, kids are coming, so we need some volunteers to be there with them. Also, the Christmas Eve service is coming up. We're going to have the service at 7, but we're going to have a candlelight walk at 6:30. So if you want to be part of that, please do join us. I think that's enough announcements. Do we have any more? I think that's good. Thank you for bearing through all those announcements.
Our closing hymn today is "O Thou Joyful Day." It's number 236 in the gray hymnal. Please rise in body or spirit, and please leave your mask in place.
Sanctissimo,
birth, as without light nothing flowers. Let us join hands in body and spirit while saying these words together. May faith in the spirit of life, hope for the community of earth, and love for the sacred in one another be ours now and in all the days to come.